Alright guys, it's time for another Saturday firewood adventure. Let's head up in the hills and see what we can find. Well, we're up in the cut block here, and I've looked at some of these in the past and wondered whether it was worth it to try and get up there and grab them, but I got one right here, zoomed way in there, nicely dead, and right at the edge of the cut block, so I could fall it over and pull it down here. Now the problem is it's pretty far away. If I had to take a guess at it, it's probably 300 feet, and it's hard to tell from the video maybe, but the bank here is high and then the road is low, so I can't just put the gas winch on the back of the truck and pull it in a straight line because it's going to run the rope right over this bank. So got to get the rope up in the air, but I do have these other, I got a big tree here, I got a old stump there, so I could put a shackle and a sling right here on this tree and throw a pulley there and then just run the rope up to the pulley and then up and try and drag that. So I think I'll just pack my way up there with a saw and take a look at that tree and see if it's worth grabbing it. All right, nice Douglas fir here. I would like to see a bit more color. A little bit of red would mean that it hadn't been dead for so long. A little concerning when you see that it's this gray. Now the downside is, again, it's hard to tell from the angle, this one has an incredible back lean. Probably leaned out 4 or 5 feet backwards at the top there. And while I was hoofing it up here, I dropped one of my wedges along the way. So I have to go get some more wedges, make sure that I can push this one in. So I want to get it to come right over there, point towards the truck. Okay, got my 3 wedges here. And again, this got crazy back lean, so I'm just gonna open up a little face cut and then get in from the back and try and get some wedges in there.
what, guys, I might be getting skunked on this one. It's unfortunately, when I cut into it, I realized it's already pretty rotten, and when sometimes just the first 8 feet or something gets rotten, but then there's really good firewood above that. But didn't get in great with my first cut there. So wasn't a fantastic job of lining up the face and the back cut, and I forgot those 3 wedges and I really pounded them in, and it's still probably got 3 or 4 feet of back lean up there. So I may not be able to get this. It may not be worth it. It's going to be, you know, you get like the first 3 or 4 inches is rotten. You only get like 8 inches in the core that's still nice firewood. So nevertheless, I don't want to leave it here. So worst case scenario, I'll just let it fall in the direction that it wants to go, and it can just lay on the forest floor here, and biodegrade naturally. So I'll try for a few more minutes and see, but I might be getting skunked here. Definitely don't use this as an instructional video, because this is not the way you should do it. Woo! Okay, like I said, not the way you're supposed to do it, but I got it where I wanted. Well, it's all delimbed. Sorry I couldn't bring you along for that part, but no tripod, so just had the phone in my pocket. It does look better. This is that inland Douglas fir, and you can see up at the top here there's no rot. So I left probably the first 10 or 12 feet there where most of the rot is. It's just not worth processing that. So we'll bring the cone of shame down here and we'll get that rigged up, and then try and drag this out to the truck, which is way down there in the distance. Okay guys, we're gonna try something a little bit different today. So for my primary rigging, I got this 1-inch nylon sling, and I use a nylon for this because it's going to be protected by the forestry cone anyways. And these once these choke up really tight, they don't tend to fall off or loosen like a chain can loosen. They really cinch up tight, so I like that. But I'm going to try here. I bought this. It's like a rubber hose stopper, you know, you'd have on like a hose reel. Because the problem when I have the forestry cone on here is I'll have it on the end of the tree like this, but it's actually downhill from here to the truck. What'll happen is the cone will just start to zip line itself down the rope. Sometimes they'll be 20 or 30 feet away from the log. And I actually have had the cone zip line all the way down and come down and almost hit me down at the truck. So what I'm going to try today, I'm going to put the cone on, and I'm going to put this rubber stopper on in front of it with the screwdriver I got in my pocket. We'll see if that'll hold the cone in place. Okay, we're rigged up here, so nylon sling, and then I just do another half hitch there, which helps to align the pole with the kind of center line of the tree. A bow line there, and then the cone. So I'm going to slide the cone over top of this and put that red stopper on there. This may not be the dumbest idea I've ever had. Seems to get pretty good purchase on the rope. It's pretty snug, and it will prevent this cone from walking off and ziplining down the rope. So I'm going to pack it down to the truck and try and winch this out of here. Hoping I can get the drone up in the sky and we can watch it from above. If you've never used a capstan winch, or if you've never done any winching like this out in the woods, I guess I should explain the cone of shame, the forestry cone. What that does is, as this log is kind of porpoising its way along in here, has a tendency to get caught on stuff. You know, it'll get caught behind that stump there, and you'll be trying to winch it, and you're winching against basically an immovable object. And this winch, it's only got about 2,000 pounds of line pull, so it just doesn't have the pulling power. If the tree gets caught on a root or something, it doesn't have the pulling power to break the root. So the cone just helps it to kind of find its way home. The cone just kind of skids over top of everything and keeps the tree moving. It really makes an enormous difference in the effectiveness of the winch. Well, like I said, I busted my nice tripod, so I'm on the backup. So I apologize if the camera angles are a little funny. Oh, got the winch here, and next I'm going to get a sling and a pulley and rig it up to this tree. Seen a lot of different ways on how to store and handle nylon slings. I tried all kinds of things over the years, and this is my favorite. Wrap it up nicely. You want the label on the outside, you want to be able to see the length, and if you're doing some actual rigging, you want to be still able to see your load weights, and then you can just peel the tape off and you're in business. Keeps them nice and organized in a bucket. This 10-footer is going to be perfect. Perfect. Okay, take our rope, flip it through this pulley. Shackle, and we're in business. Okay, now once this tensions up, it's going to do a nice job of keeping our rope up out of the stumps and everything else. These fiber ropes, they really don't like to run over rocks and everything else. Try and keep it up out of the cabbage. Okay, I'm right at the end. That's a 220-foot rope. I'm right at the end here, and it's probably 30 feet, 25 feet to the winch point. So I think in total this will be about a 200-foot line pull, and maybe 190, something like that. And I think the rated speed of this PCW 5000 is about 40 feet a minute. So, you know, we should be up around 5 minutes to do the entire pull.
Here's the routing. You can see the orange rope there, and you can see the path that this tree is going to take once we tension up and we start to pull here. All right, good perspective from up here in the sky. Start to pull here, and you see the yellow cone on the front of the tree. And it did actually get stuck on something. You can see me scurry up here. I had to go up and pull the front of the tree over a foot, and then back down to the truck and start to pull again. You can really tell with this capstan style winch, you got a good feel for the load that's on it. So even when I can't see the tree, it's out of my visibility, I can still really feel when the winch is working hard, and especially when it's up against kind of an immovable object, it's pretty obvious down at the winch. So overall, this worked really well. Just pulled it up right close to the tree, and then just popped up there and pulled the redirect pulley off the tree, and pulled it a little bit more down to the truck, and that was it. Pretty easy peasy. And there we go. Nice.
It worked out great. That little red stopper is still in position. And I got this guy right down by the road here. I'll actually just bucket right where it is. It's elevated off the ground, and bucket where it is and load the rounds. I'm just going to take these rounds as they are. I'm not going to split them in the woods today. This is my winter fitness program. Get all these rounds in the yard and then work on them over the winter. So that worked out really nicely. Another good session with the Capstan Winch here. This thing's a real workhorse, and no issues. Just pulled it really nicely. I think real time probably to do that pull start to finish was probably about 6 or 7 minutes, including me having to run up there, and you saw it. It did get stuck on one stump, so I just had to reef on the front of the tree and move it over a bit. Pretty good.
I get going bucking this one up. Anytime you do any winching, anytime you drag a tree, it is going to pick up some, hopefully just some dirt, but it'll also probably pick up some rocks. And I do have a bit of a cutting technique where I try to minimize the damage to the chain. It only takes one nick from a rock and you'll be back sharpening the chain again. So you kind of just try and minimize the damage. It's not much you can really do. You're always going to end up with a little bit of chain wear from it. We'll get going here to load it all up. These are nice little rounds. It's not back-breaking to load them, and pretty easy splitting when they're this dry. This kind of wood, you could go ahead and burn it this year. It would be fine, but if I do end up keeping this for myself, it'll be for 2026. Most likely I end up probably just giving this away this winter. If somebody needs some, I don't mind having a bit extra kicking around, and I can always help someone out if they're in a jam, so this will be good for them.
Okay guys, we're loaded up. We're heading down. Decent little load of firewood. Not the world's greatest, but still keeps a house warm in the winter, so we'll take it.